Is that truly me? Is this lifeless, soulless, eggplant-nosed monstrosity supposed to be my likeness? I am a descendant of Jupiter, the greatest emperor the world has ever known. This dull, uninspired stone head is meant to represent me. This is an outrage, a vile conspiracy, the most heinous attack ever launched against me. Darius! Darius! Your command, supreme ruler of the universe, descendant of Jupiter, emperor of the world, the magnificent Nero. Summon the master sculptor Michelangelo to my presence at once, as you decree, my glorious emperor. Behold the calm reflection. Alas, my hair, it dwindles, like the sands of time. This stone visage, its hair surpasses mine, gleaming with an ethereal sheen. And my cheeks, do they sag with the weight of years? These lips, like plump, overripe fruit. And my eyes, do they betray a vacant soul? What if I furrow my brow thus? A visage of strength. Yet one cannot wear a frown in every place. I have been a fool. Michelangelo, that genius, has captured my essence with such grace. He made me appear less monstrous than I truly am. That is the mark of a true artist. In a world of sycophants, only they dare to reveal the truth. Darius. Darius. Your command, O ruler of the universe, grandson of Jupiter, emperor of the world, the magnificent Nero. I have reconsidered. Do not summon Michelangelo. Instead, bestow upon him another 10,000 gold coins, as you decree, my glorious emperor. But it's not this mere bust that will immortalize me. It will be this city, the capital of the world. Magnificent squares, lush parks, grand theatres, and vast libraries everywhere. All the nations of the earth will trade here. Roads from every corner of the globe will converge here. And, the Colosseum. You are the jewel of my vision, the very heart of Constantinople. And of course, my grand stage where the entire world will gather to hear my verses. Thus concludes our tale.
Greetings, ruler of the universe, grandson of Zeus, the mighty Nero, drinking wine and looking over your city again.
My niece, and unfortunately also my wife, Empress Octavia. Yes, as you said, I was enjoying my wine and admiring the city until you arrived.
A man, whether emperor or god, cannot speak to his wife this way, Nero.
Oh, Octavia, if anyone heard us, they would think we are really husband and wife. But you know as well as I do that for years we've only stood side by side like the king and queen on a chessboard, that's all.
You are absolutely right, Nero. But don't forget, for the last 10 years, you've been moving just like a king on a chessboard. You can't move more than one square. You've done nothing but go back and forth between the Colosseum and the palace.
Greetings, Emperor and Empress. Greetings to you, sun and moon of the universe. Greetings to you, poet of poets. Greetings to you, witch of witches. Greetings to you, offspring of Jupiter. Greetings to you, my brother Nero. Greetings to you, my cousin Octavia.
Stop your babbling, Tiberius. Where did you come from?
Don't you know, brother? Our mother just a minute after you.
Enough, Tiberius. Stop clowning around.
But dear Nero, if you are the emperor of this palace, I am the fool. This is my job.
Okay, but leave us alone now. We are talking with Octavia.
Okay, but my dear brother, a little money for me?
What will you do with the money, Tiberius? Isn't everything free in the palace?
But great Nero, I'm not going to be stuck in this palace in the vast city of Constantinople, am I? Or should I ask my sister-in-law? I mean, our queen. Sorry, our niece.
Okay, take this pouch and get lost.
You're the best emperor the world has ever seen, brother. Even if I can't disappear, at least I won't be seen around for a while.
Wait a minute, Tiberius. I'm curious, what are you going to do in the city with this money?
Oh, so many things. First, I'll go to a Turkish bath and get a good scrub.
Why, did the Roman baths run out of water?
But brother, one doesn't feel clean without a good scrub.
And then?
After that, maybe I'll go to the oil wrestling matches. I recommend it. It's more interesting than our gladiator fights.
Then...
I haven't decided what to do after that, but maybe I'll go to a football match.
What's that?
It's a new ball game that the British brought to Constantinople. It's very enjoyable to watch. although our Romaspor team has been losing lately, but we are improving.
So the Romans have a team too.
Just the Romans, Nero? The city has a football league, and every nation has at least one team. Oh, my emperor, you've become so out of touch with what's going on in the world from being cooped up in the palace.
Yes, Tiberius, I haven't had time to live in the world because I've been so busy running it.
But you must make time, dear Nero. There is no other Constantinople.
You see, you're right about that. So what will you do after the match?
I'll go to a Chinese tea house and drink tea. Then I'll drink wine and eat at a French tavern. And of course, I'll go to one of the Roman neighborhoods by the sea and have fun. Wait for me, Constantinople. I'm coming to conquer you. Ah ha ha ha.
Good riddance, crazy fool.
Never mind him. Tell me, Octavia, why did you really come here? You wouldn't bother coming to me if you didn't have something to say.
So does a woman need a reason to visit her husband?
In our case, yes, my dear wife. In the early days of our marriage, you used to come to my bed at night to have children with me, but since we realized we can't have children, we only see each other at meals. Since it's not dinner time right now, you're here to talk about politics.
How did you even conclude that I am the one who can't have children?
Oh, Octavia, we've been married for over 10 years. Are we still going to play games with each other? You know very well that if you could have children, even if not from me, like our grandmother Olympia, you would have given birth to not one, but many heirs from Jupiter or who knows which god. And probably I would have fallen victim to a conspiracy just like my grandfather Philip or my uncle Caligula.
You're talking nonsense, Nero. Even if you don't fulfill your duties as an emperor, you can't insult my respectable empresshood.
Of course, of course. Everyone knows you're living a nun's life with your male chambermaids, but let's leave these matters aside. Yes, I remembered. You were complaining about me running back and forth between the palace and the Colosseum as emperor. So, what do you expect from an emperor? What can an emperor do other than be an emperor?
Not just me, but the Romans had high expectations of you, Nero. When my father, Caligula, died, the noble Roman aristocracy expected a lot from you. When they declared you emperor,
First of all, your father didn't die. He was murdered, Octavia. And he was assassinated by your so-called noble Roman aristocracy. Also, for the empire to exist, someone from the dynasty had to be emperor, and it would be either me or Tiberius. Since Tiberius was crazy, it fell to me to be emperor. Therefore, I don't think I owe anything to the Roman nobles who killed my uncle Octavia.
I don't understand how you can be so cold-blooded. Even though he's my father, I don't defend that monster Caligula. But you, instead of justifying those who killed him, you still look at them with hatred. You know very well that Caligula was a madman who trampled on the pride of Rome. Moreover, he was also your father's murderer. If your father heard you now, Nero, his bones would ache.
Oh, Octavia, what a great demagogue you are. You're the best at interpreting events and people as it suits you, but you don't even care about the truth. According to you, I should hate Caligula for killing my father and therefore blindly accept everything he did as evil, right? But I'm not like you, Octavia. I'm just trying to understand him and what he did. Yet I know that you and the Roman aristocracy want me to hate him just because he was my father's murderer, and supposedly, because you avenged my father, you, excuse me, your noble Romans, expect me to be grateful to you. But no, I neither hate my poor uncle, who was also murdered by you, nor do I interpret his actions as it suits you. I never learned what kind of person my father was, Octavia. I was very young when my uncle had him killed. So, I knew my uncle better than my father, and when I started to understand things, I also understood why my Caligula had to kill Drusus.
He killed my uncle Drusus because he was a madman ruthless enough to kill his own brother.
Look, there's a crazy person, it's obvious. Calling him crazy is the easy way out. Isn't there a reason for this? Can there be an effect without a cause?
Oh.
Tiberius.
Greetings again, Emperor and Empress.
What are you doing here, Tiberius? Weren't you supposed to go to the city?
I was going to, Your Majesty, but as I was leaving I saw your chamber servant, Darius, eavesdropping at your door, so I decided it would be more entertaining here.
This is what happens when the Roman emperor has a Persian chamber servant.
You should say Roman of Persian descent, Octavia, even though you and the noble Roman aristocracy haven't accepted it yet. Everyone who has lived in Rome since Alexander is considered Roman. Besides, walls have ears, especially in palaces. I know this because I've caught your pure-blooded Roman servants eavesdropping on me many times.
So I sent Darius away from the door and thought I'd eavesdrop on your interesting conversation.
Isn't that a bit rude, Tiberius?
Not just a bit, Your Majesty. It's downright rude. But that's one of the perks of being a jester. Rudeness is part of my job. I act impertinent and bring a little joy to this gloomy palace life, and you, as emperor, tolerate the jester's actions. Isn't that right, my unshakable pillar of Rome, my empress?
Right.
Then, when you started talking about the crazy people in our honorable family tree, I couldn't resist accompanying you with a song.
We understand you, Tiberius, but can you leave us alone now?
Of course, great Nero, of course. I respectfully take my leave.
Anyway, he's gone. What was I saying?
You were talking about the reason for Caligula's madness, Nero.
Oh yes, I remember. Caligula was a man who lost his mind, but what was the reason? I think Caligula was a man as unlucky as I am. That's why I don't hate him. On the contrary, I feel a closeness to him.
Unlucky? Unlucky? Being the son of Alexander the Great, the grandson of Zeus and the Emperor of Rome, since when has that been bad luck?
Oh, Octavia, those things you mentioned could only be a great opportunity for someone like you, if you were a man. You were truly born to rule. But all of these were the greatest curses for both my uncle and me, because we never had the lust for power and authority like you and our nobles. We were born into it unwillingly. For example, I wouldn't want to rule. I'd rather be a traveling bard and travel the world. But now, I rule a world I will never see.
You can take an army and travel the world any time you want. What's keeping you in this city, Emperor?
You are, Octavia. You and your noble Roman sycophants.
Do you distrust me that much, Nero?
Completely, my dear wife, completely. If I'm alive today, I owe it to your infertility, and therefore your inability to bear a son. Because if I had an heir, I would have kicked the bucket by now, and you would have a puppet emperor, and you would tear the empire apart as you pleased. The peace that has lasted since Alexander would end, and the whole world would once again become your battlefield. You know, Octavia, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think you could be the unknown perpetrator who stabbed Caligula in the back.
How can you accuse me of such a thing, Nero? He was my father.
I'm sorry, but Octavia, the history of our dynasty is full of kinslayings and conspiracies. We all know that our grandmother Olympia had Emperor Philip killed, for example. Adding your patricide to all of this wouldn't look out of place in our illustrious history. And since you feel closer to those very noble Roman nobles than to our dynasty, you're quite a suitable perpetrator for this murder.
How dare you accuse me like this, Nero? He was my father!
I'm sorry, Octavia, but our dynasty's history is full of murders and conspiracies among relatives. For example, we all know that our grandmother Olympia had Emperor Philip killed. Adding your patricide to all of this wouldn't be out of place in our illustrious history. Besides, since you feel closer to those oh-so-noble Roman aristocrats than to our dynasty, you're the most likely culprit for this murder.
Know this, Nero. I didn't kill him, but I think his death was good for Rome. At least the empire is free from being ruled by a madman.
Ah, your never-ending love for Rome, laughing, shaking his head. By the way, Octavia, I don't think my uncle was as mad as everyone thinks. Caligula was a miserable and angry man. And the reason for this anger was you, Octavia. You and that decrepit Roman aristocracy.
What do you mean, Nero?
After Alexander's death, all Caligula wanted was to enjoy the world empire at peace. But what happened? The remnants of ancient Rome, the only concern of your noble Romans was to protect Rome's pride. You wanted to restore the rights of citizens who didn't have noble Roman blood. You wanted to enslave the whole world. More war, more blood, more loot.
And is that why Caligula dragged Rome into shame? How do you think he protected Rome's honor by humiliating nobles in public, making them fight as gladiators in arenas?
Yeah, after killing his brother, Caligula changed. But who was to blame for this, Octavia? Rome's nobles. If he wanted to humiliate them, it was because of the nobles themselves, who worshipped power, flattered, and had no honor. And what happened in the end? You killed him. Just when I reached the age to become emperor, he fell victim to an unknown assassination. What a coincidence.
Shouts angrily. When you became emperor, Rome expected a lot from you, Nero.
Laughs, stares at Octavia. Rome, you say? Which Rome? Because ever since Alexander conquered everywhere, from the impassable mountains in the east to the ocean in the west, the glaciers in the north and the deserts in the south, this is no longer Rome, it's the world empire. And in the world empire, everyone is a Roman citizen, meaning everyone is Roman.
Shouting angrily, narrowing her eyes. By Roman, I mean true Romans, Nero, those who come from our lineage of Italian descent, the true owners of Rome.
You know, Octavia, sometimes I think you're incredibly unlucky, and even I feel sorry for you.
What do you mean?
Your unhappiness in this life started with being born a bad woman. If you were a man, as emperor, you could easily satisfy all your ambitions for power and authority, because you have a natural talent for this filth of politics and bombastic rhetoric. But unfortunately, Octavia, you were born at the wrong time, in the wrong body.
No, Nero. Even if you are the emperor, you cannot treat noble families, all with glorious histories, who represent Rome with such disdain. I won't allow it.
Well, 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 look at these pearls. You speak of the glorious history of the Romans. But who does our glorious history rest upon? A Trojan who fled to Italy while Troy was burning.
What nonsense are you talking about?
For goodness sake, even the ancestor of the first Romans wasn't Roman, but a Greek. And Romulus, the founder of our glorious Rome, killed his brother Remus to ascend to the throne. For goodness sake, Octavia, even at the very beginning of our glorious history, there's a brother killing his brother. And in such an empire, you're giving me a morality lesson?
Breathlessly stares angrily. You, is this how you describe Rome's honor?
Lowers his head, smiles. I'm just telling the truth, Octavia. But I know the truth doesn't matter to you, because your eyes only see what you want to see. I'm so tired of going around in circles, Octavia. I keep saying the whole world is Roman now and there are no more barbarians, but you just don't understand. Our biggest dream was to conquer the whole world, and Alexander made that dream come true. But Roman culture, which knows nothing but war, slaughter, and exploitation, wasn't so great after all. The citizens of the world didn't become Roman. We became citizens of the world. Don't you understand there's no going back from this?
There is, Nero, there is. That's why the Roman aristocracy put you in charge. They expect you to give back first-class citizenship to the Romans.
So this empire, where everyone is equal and free, can be torn apart, so we can go back to the old days when wars for slaves and land raged across the world. But wars have happened. People have died. What does it matter? Right, Octavia? As long as the bigwigs of our Senate line their pockets again, have slaves plough their fields and graze their flocks, and this charade goes on and on. It was these never-ending demands of those very noble bigwigs that drove my uncle mad. They constantly wanted war from him, a savage Rome whose wealth is once again built on slaughter. But it wasn't Rome that became savage, it was Caligula. He dissolved the Senate. He humiliated, belittled, judged, and executed the Roman nobles. Yet if it weren't for these absurd desires, the Roman aristocracy would have had opportunities to add to their wealth in the new Rome.
Whatever you say, Nero, since we Romans were able to conquer other nations, aren't we superior to them? So shouldn't we have ruled them as we pleased?
Just like the Mongols did once, right, Octavia? But what's left of them now, I'll tell you. Pastrami. Do you know why? Because it's a place too big for any nation to rule forever, Octavia. I'm not really ruling it anyway, I'm just pretending to rule it so that the world I inherited from my grandfather doesn't fall apart. I don't even keep an eye on it, I just sit in this palace representing the world empire and leave the world to its own devices. Because if the world empire is to continue, it can only be through willingness, not by force. That's why no nation should have superiority over another in this empire. You and the Roman nobles just can't grasp something that Alexander understood very well. As our famous General Bismarck once said, you can conquer everything with a sword, but you can't sit on it.
If you had listened to Hitlerus back then, we would have cleared everywhere with the sword and sat wherever we wanted.
So we should have crowned our great culture with genocide, is that it, Octavia? We would have listened to Hitlerus and started by slaughtering the Jews, then continued with the Gypsies, then after putting all the non-Roman nations to the sword, whose turn would it be? I'll tell you, our own. As noble Romans, we would start putting the cities of less noble Romans to the sword. That was Hitlerus's perfect ideal, Octavia. No, Octavia, no! This is no longer your old Roman Empire.
You're right, Nero. This is more like a Persian kingdom than a Roman Empire, or an Indian kingdom.
Or all of them.
But it's certain that this is no longer the Roman Empire.
Yes, you're finally starting to understand, Octavia.
But don't forget, Nero, sooner or later you too will die. And since you have no heir, this Tower of Babel will collapse.
Yes, I've thought about that too, Octavia. That's why I've decided to adopt someone trustworthy and understanding when the time comes.
What, when, who?
Emperor, General Brutus, the Minister of the Interior, wants to see you urgently. It wasn't time for our routine meeting with our Minister of the Interior yet. Why does he want to see me now? From what I hear, many messengers have arrived from all over the empire. Well, let him come then. Brutus, the Minister of the Interior, the Emperor of the world, great Nero, grants you an audience.
Greetings to you, ruler of the world, grandson of Jupiter, great Nero and son of the universe, my noble queen.
Greetings, Brutus.
Greetings to you, Minister of the Interior and General, noble Brutus.
I know, my emperor, our routine meeting was a week away, but messengers from all over the country have brought such news in the last 2 days that I thought they couldn't wait a week.
Well, what news is so important? Tell me, Brutus, have rebellions broken out in our empire?
It absolutely must be. This slumber of Rome must have given courage to all the barbarian races.
Actually, not quite, your majesty, continues in a lower voice. My emperor, should I tell the empress the news right now in her presence, or...
You can tell me right now, Brutus. Even if you don't tell me now, you'll tell the empress as soon as you leave here anyway. And you know that the emperor and empress are one.
Very well, my emperor. But first I must say, this news is truly unbelievable. But when different messengers came one after another with similar news, I thought I should take it seriously.
Get to the point, Brutus. Just tell us the news, and we'll decide for ourselves whether it's unbelievable or not.
As you command, my emperor. His voice becomes increasingly serious. According to the messengers from the east, many dragons have been seen flying from the Caucasus Mountains towards the empire. And according to the news that followed, these dragons are heading here, towards the capital.
What did you say? A moment of silence. Do you hear what's coming out of your mouth, Brutus? When you say dragons, are you talking about those giant flying lizards from the legends?
Yes, your majesty, the messengers' descriptions are exactly like that.
Well, how many dragons are they talking about?
It's hard to give an exact number, my emperor, but they mention dozens.
Oh, this is utter nonsense. Then suddenly becomes serious. Well, what did our soldiers do when these dragons passed by?
The archers in the garrisons shot arrows at the dragons. But they were flying too high. The arrows fell short, my emperor.
Of course. And where were these dragons last seen?
In Anatolia, my emperor. In fact, news came that one of them extorted a village in Anatolia.
A dragon extorting a village? By Jupiter, I've heard many absurd stories, but this is too much.
The complaints from the village are to this effect, my emperor.
Well, what does this bandit dragon want from the villagers?
Everything, my emperor. Gold, women, food.
A real piece of work, this dragon, and the villagers are giving him all this?
They are, sir. If they don't give him what he wants, he burns their houses with his fiery breath.
Well, what is our army there doing about this?
I sent orders for them to find and kill the dragon, my emperor.
You did well, Brutus. A moment of silence. Brutus coughed slightly to ask permission to continue.
Should I continue, my emperor?
I think you should refill my wine before this nonsense ends, Brutus. But go on. Continue. Scene fades to black. Is there any news besides the dragons?
I'm afraid so, your majesty.
Well, Brutus, go on. What other nonsense will these ears hear?
Maybe you should take these dragons seriously, Nero.
Of course, Octavia, of course. Let's hear all the news first. Where's the other news from, Brutus?
From the impassable deserts in the south, your majesty. News is coming from there that the Messiah, mentioned in the religions of those Easterners, has appeared and is marching towards the capital.
Okay, but why is he coming to Constantinople? Shouldn't he be going to Judea?
Maybe because there are more Jews living here than in Judea, Nero?
True, after all, Constantinople is the center of the world, Octavia.
Actually, the Messiah is coming here to free the Easterners held captive in the city, your majesty.
But doesn't this Messiah know that slavery has been outlawed in Rome since Alexander?
According to the Eastern belief, all Easterners in Rome are captives, your Highness Nero. According to the same legend, the Messiah will come here and overthrow the reign of the Antichrist, giving the Easterners both their freedom and dominion over the people of the world, your majesty.
And I'm the Antichrist, is that it?
I told you not to give these barbarians so much leeway. Look, you heard what you are in the eyes of these barbarians you trust so much and rely on. The devil.
Besides, noble Romans, seeing all other people as primitives and barbarians who should be enslaved, there isn't much difference between that and the Easterners thinking I'm the Antichrist. By the way, everyone can think whatever they want about me, Octavia. As long as you don't pick up a sword and start swinging it around, there's no harm. Take a break from interpreting everything to your liking, and let's understand the matter properly, Octavia. So, Brutus, what have our armies in the province done about this man coming out of the desert?
That's the bad part, your majesty. Our soldiers who encountered him are following this false prophet.
I guess this Messiah is a hit.
Unfortunately, your majesty.
So what orders did you give on this matter, Brutus?
I didn't want to give an order without asking you, your majesty.
Well, then I order all armies to capture him and bring him here alive. I'd like to hear his influential words myself. If he can't be captured, he's coming here anyway. Whatever. Anything else?
Ice giants have been seen advancing from the north, your majesty.
Aren't those the ice giants from the Viking tales?
I think so, yes, your majesty.
So it seems like the creatures from the legends of every nation in the empire have decided to rise up and come to the capital. And at the same time...
Yes, very strange, your majesty.
Dragons and ice giants and a messiah are coming. Is that all, Brutus?
And also, your majesty.
Wait, let me guess. There's something coming from the ocean in the west, right?
How did you know, your majesty? Oceanus himself is coming from the ocean.
Isn't that the muscular bearded man holding a pitchfork?
Yes, your majesty, that's exactly how they describe him.
Of course. All the monsters in every culture's myths are awakening, so why would our titans just sit around?
By Jupiter, what great disasters!
Let's not get too excited. Maybe they're just drawn to Constantinople's charm, as they say. There's no place like Constantinople, right? Besides, Constantinople is such a big city. There's room for dragons, giants, and gods. They can just settle on a plot of land outside the city. What's the big deal?
But my lord...
You've done your part, General Brutus, and I, as is my duty, will continue to rule the empire. You are dismissed.
Yes, your orders, my emperor.
Announce to the citizens that I will be making a statement about the current state of the empire at the Colosseum this Saturday.
As you command, my lord.
I've never really warmed up to Brutus. I don't understand why my uncle, who got rid of almost all the native Romans in the army, kept him as a general. Well, I guess he had his reasons.
We must leave this city immediately, Nero.
Isn't that what you wanted?
What do you mean?
It's a very interesting coincidence that our general arrives with catastrophic news on the very day you come to talk to me about Roman politics, Octavia. Wait, let me guess what happens next in the script. The cowardly emperor flees from the monsters and disappears. Then the empress, by selflessly marrying the Roman nobleman General Brutus, saves Rome from being without an emperor.
Bravo, poet of poets, Nero. You truly are a very creative artist. No wonder the blood of the gods flows in your veins.
You again? Since when have you been there?
Don't worry, brother. I wasn't here long enough to hear if you and the empress were mating like hippos. I came in with Brutus.
So why did you come from the city?
Laughing, opening his arms. Brutus isn't lying, Nero. The city is buzzing with news of monsters coming from all directions. The Chinese are celebrating the arrival of the dragons with enthusiasm. The Jews and Christians are protesting, demanding the immediate capture and execution of the false prophet who has arrived. They just can't agree on the method of execution. The Jews want him crucified like Jesus, while the Christians want him burned like a witch. The Vikings are arming themselves and preparing for the arrival of the frost giants from their legends. Lowering his voice, frowning, I think we, as Jupiter's grandchildren, should deal with the arrival of Oceanus.
Turning to Nero sternly. You heard that, great and paranoid Nero. This wasn't some plot by Brutus and me.
Smiling, shrugging. My apologies, my dear queen. I'm sorry, but you know, paranoia, megalomania, and schizophrenia are hereditary diseases for the men in our family.
I don't know about you, but I'm not staying in the city while all this is happening. I'm going to the summer palace in Sicily until the city is safe again.
So that's the extent of your Roman courage, Octavia. Don't worry. As a grandson of Jupiter, I will stay here and face the newcomers in the arena in a manner befitting heroic and noble Romans. But I want to ask you something, Octavia. How can you believe in both the official Roman imperial cult and the myths of other nations?
Haven't you heard? No one in the city disbelieves this news. And like you said, Nero, maybe the world isn't the world we know anymore.
Yes, you're right. In that case, have a good trip, Octavia. If you ask me, take General Brutus as your escort.
Nero!
Okay, I'll be quiet. May Jupiter be with you, Empress Octavia. I hope you return safe.
Honestly, things seem to be getting more fun even for you, Neron. Weren't you tired of this pointless empire after all these years?
You know, sometimes I think you're far smarter than you appear, Tiberius.
Brother, you know one of us had to be sane and the other insane to survive. I chose madness and jesting.
Then you made the wiser choice, Tiberius.
Still, you handled this empire business so well for decades that even if not for your poetry, I've always respected your emperorship.
Do you think my poetry is bad?
Truthfully, I don't know much about poetry, Neron. Who knows, maybe you really are the greatest living poet.
I know I'm not. Not since I read that Turkish poet. What was his name? Jonas? No, Eunice. After reading his verses, I knew.
I've heard some of his poems from Turkish-born Romans, too. I don't know poetry, but I liked them. They remind me a bit of Plotinus from our academy, but at least he's less boring.
What do you make of all this, Tiberius? The old emperors were lucky, weren't they? At least, they only had to fight other nations' armies. I got monsters and prophets instead. Do you know the worst part of being Emperor, Tiberius?
Laughs. Which one, dear brother?
One of them is never being able to truly test yourself. I'll never know if I'm a good poet. Even if I win every contest, even if my plays and verses are cheered in the Colosseum, I'll never know if it's praise or flattery.
True, but many of our curses begin with being born into this so-called royal family.
Let it end. Oh, gods, what a long war this has been.
Alexander died not even 50, drunk and disappointed, his liver rotted from wine. The boy who left Constantinople came home an orphaned, broken man. His childhood friends had either died beside him or were executed by him for seeking power or wealth. Exactly. The great conqueror who fulfilled Rome's dreams returned weary from war.
What's your point, Tiberius?
My point is that even Alexander, our most successful and powerful ancestor, was crushed by the same misery that haunts us. Think of our lineage, lovelessness, fear, loneliness, madness, addiction, delusions of grandeur and worthlessness. Raised with ice-cold discipline, heirs to an empire built on blood, never ourselves, always nothing or everything, We're Rome's bloated brain, Neron, a swollen tumor on the world's mind.
Are you blaming Alexander for all of this?
No, Neron, there's no one to blame. Everyone expected something from us. The elites wanted global domination. The people wanted endless comfort and gold. But how do you satisfy those who want everything? We were raised to believe we were gods, foreigners to mankind, tools of power who couldn't drive a single nail into a wall. Think of Alexander. Why did he spend half his life rampaging across continents? Because he was born to conquer? Because he was the son of Jupiter? No, Neron. He was a lonely child escaping a mad mother who believed she slept with gods. And Aristotle, the crusty logician, gave him a purpose: make the world Roman. Maybe Aristotle never thought it would happen, but somehow the entire universe helped Alexander. Winds at his back, doors opened before him, knots unraveled themselves. And in the end?
You surprise me, Tiberius. It turns out there's a philosopher hiding beneath that jester's mask. Go on, you're opening my mind. Tell me, what happened in the end?
The known world came to an end, perhaps too soon. Alexander, who set out to expand Rome, noticed beauties in the lives of those we call barbarians, beauties that weren't present in Rome. He found things in them that he admired. And Alexander, who returned to his birthplace only after his mother's death, was no longer a Roman. He was half Persian, half Indian. Thus began the age of pleasure and entertainment in the world.
I never thought of it that way.
There's nothing to be surprised about, Nero. You've lived in this palace so far removed from the world that you couldn't possibly notice these things in a lifetime.
I guess you're right, Tiberius. Anyway, what did you mean by the age of pleasure and entertainment?
Yes, the age of pleasure and entertainment. At first it was a fun time, a time when everyone was happy. In this new era, all the peoples of the world began to make love, not war, and this was the bed of this great group interaction. Constantinople and all the Alexandrias, religions, legends, arts, knowledge, fashions, games, they flowed into each other, mixed with each other, and that's how the new world began. But as they say, my brother, all good things must come to an end, and no pleasure can last forever. It's against human nature. And when this great party, which had lasted half a century since Alexander, ended, as at the end of all parties, a great shame came over everyone who participated. Because no one knew who was whose husband, who was whose wife, who was whose son, who was whose daughter, who was whose father, who was whose mother anymore. Gods were mixed with gods, prophets with prophets, legends with legends, heroes with heroes, and people realized that they had lost their identities. Everyone was the same, everyone was everyone, and everyone was no one anymore. Everyone was Roman, so everyone was a nobody. Thus came the end of the age of pleasure and entertainment, Nero.
So what now, Tiberius?
Change, Nero. Change. People want things to change, whether for better or for worse. This change whether it be destruction or apocalypse. And now, the peoples are returning to their origins. The hopes and fears in their subconscious are beginning to awaken again. Dragons, ice giants, messiahs, gods and titans.
You don't believe all these monsters are real, do you, Tiberius?
It doesn't matter, Nero. These are as real to the people as Jupiter, with whom our great-grandmother Olympia slept, was real to her. People create reality, Nero.
Bravo, Tiberius, bravo. You're eclipsing even the great master Aristotle in philosophy. But to get to the point, what should we do now? Do you have a suggestion?
Yes, I do, Nero. In fact, I've had a suggestion I've wanted to make to you for a long time, and I see that now is the perfect time.
What is it, Tiberius?
I offer you what you've longed for your whole life, your freedom.
What do you mean?
I will take your place.
So, you'll be Emperor Nero, and I'll be Tiberius the Jester?
No, Nero, I will be Emperor Nero, but you can be whatever you want. You kept rambling about wanting to be a wandering minstrel. Here's your chance. Thus, I give you back the right to choose, which I stole from you from the very beginning.
Agreed, Tiberius.
Come on then, let's trade clothes.
Okay, what will you do?
Whatever it takes to prolong the duration of the world empire inherited from Alexander.
Okay, Tiberius, agreed. I hope this burden you've taken from my back won't be too heavy for you.
Forget it, Nero. After all, I owe you the bearing of this burden. People of Rome, before the gladiator fights begin, I want to talk to you about our empire. You know that Rome now means the world, and Roman means everyone. From the Finns to the Chinese, from the Vikings to the Africans, from the Persians to the Indians, everyone living in Rome. Today, our empire is going through difficult times. Dragons from the east, titans from the west, ice giants from the north, a false prophet from the south, O Romans, masters of the world, will we leave our world to them?
No.
Heroism, courage, and ideals are humanity's greatest values. As the Roman Emperor, I see these attacks on our world as an opportunity to revive these values that we are losing. Rome has always had great ideals, and that hasn't changed today. Rome has brand new ideals now. Yes, my grandfather Alexander, also known as Dull Carnane, explored the boundaries of the known world. But now it's time to go beyond that. Yes, you heard that right. The Roman Empire's new goal is to go beyond the oceans in the west, the impassable mountains in the east, the impassable deserts in the south, and the uninhabitable glaciers in the north, and to include those places in our great empire, because Rome is too big to stand still, and after conquering the world, it's powerful enough to conquer even the sun. So dragons, giants, monsters living far away, and if there are other people too, they will become citizens of our empire, either willingly or by kneeling.
The crowd erupts in applause. Tiberius raises his hands to quiet the applause.
By the way, I have more news for you. I know some of you are worried about the future of the empire because I don't have an heir. And even some worry that a separatist nationalist, dreaming of the old Rome, outdated and belonging only to those of Italian origin, will take over the empire and destroy this brave new world we have created together as humanity. But just as rivers cannot flow backward, the new Rome cannot return to the old ways. And those who harbor such worries should know. My heir is all Roman citizens. However, since no one knows when death will come, especially in the palace, I am announcing the person who will be my heir after my death. Come here, Darius.
Excitedly. My emperor, I am grateful for this great honor.
Darius has served me in the palace for 10 years, and knows the empire's income and expenses perhaps even better than I do. He is a Roman of Persian descent, because I am as sure of his belief in and loyalty to Rome's ideals as I am of my own. Right now, in front of everyone, I declare him the heir to the empire.
Long live Darius. Long live the emperor.
Thus, like my grandfather Alexander the Great, who married my Persian grandmother Barsine, I emphasize that the foundation of the empire is not based on blood ties, but on trust and merit. After all, everyone in this square is now as Roman as Romulus, the founder of the empire. We bid farewell to our future emperor with applause. And now, after giving you this good news, it's time for the gladiator fights, which I know you've all been eagerly waiting for. On this day of Saturn, against our Roman, that is, earthly warriors, there will be dragons and giants, symbolically, and so we will have a chance to witness our future victory in advance.
Gladiators, gladiators.
Before I leave the stage, I want to end my words with an old poem of mine. A golden pin is fastened to the garment of the sons of Cecrops. A cicada is attached to this pin, firmly grasped between its teeth. An Arcadian-shaped, crescent-shaped moon is engraved, a half-sandal on the wrist. In the past, Romulus's noble class would wear this. Thus, they would claim to be natives of the land. Distinguished men from noble families would carry these symbols. But those days are gone now, and Rome has been rebuilt, where no one lords it over another with cicadas or sandals, where everyone is equal, that new Rome where everyone competes in heroism and courage.
Long live the new Rome.
I guess it wasn't a bad speech. Even though Nero's poetry wasn't very good, maybe the empire will continue for a while after this performance. Anyway, what difference does it make?
Good night, Emperor Nero.
Good night, future Emperor Darius. What brings you here at this hour of the night? And what are you hiding behind your back, a token of gratitude?
You could say that, my emperor.
Ah, what a beautiful dagger. Is it something valuable?
The most valuable in the empire, Nero. After all, it will take the life of an emperor, a demigod.
I knew this would happen, but I didn't expect you to be so hasty, Darius.
Did you think I would continue as a chamber servant as the future emperor?
You are right, Darius.
And your speech today inspired me greatly. I thought Rome needed new and young blood to realize its new and great ideals.
You thought very well, Darius. Bravo. Thanks to you, I leave knowing that a worthy emperor will take my place. Farewell, Emperor Darius.
Farewell to you too, great Nero.
Earthquake. The whole city is in ruins. Rome is burning. Not a stone is left standing. The Colosseum is in ruins. Fire! Earthquake! Dragons! Giants!
Hear me, people of Rome. Our great Emperor Nero has been killed by the Easterners, and the rightful heir to the empire, Darius, perished under the rubble while declaring his rule in the Colosseum during the earthquake. But there is no need to worry. Rome is not left without a ruler. Our great Empress Octavia, without even having the chance to mourn her beloved husband, has shown great sacrifice by marrying me, General Brutus, in a swift ceremony to ensure the empire is not left without an emperor. And I, the great Brutus, have ascended as the new emperor of Rome. I promise you that Constantinople, which was destroyed in the earthquake, will be rebuilt stronger than ever. The barbarians, who are responsible for all the disasters from Nero's death to the earthquake, will be killed wherever they are found. Thus, Rome will rid itself of this horde of traitors trying to undermine the empire from within, and will rise stronger than ever.
For great Rome, death to the barbarians! Death to the barbarians! Death to the barbarians! Death to the barbarians! Civil war has broken out. Massacre, genocide. Blood is everywhere. Everything is being looted. Fire, dragons, giants.
Just outside the grand city of Constantinople, two figures approach with heavy steps.
The gods and men together have torn down the Tower of Babel once more, a pity for Tiberius.
It is not the wise but the mad who build grand palaces. In the end, all constructions fall to ruin. Hey, traveller, you seem weary. Come, let's sit for a while. Sufis need conversation.
I feel as though I've crossed oceans, all for just a handful of earth and a fragment of life.
Tell me, where do you come from and where are you going?
I left Constantinople and I don't know where I'm going.
So you have donned the cloak of blame. You have taken the first step on the path to love.
Tell me, Dervish, what is love?
Love is like the sun. A heart without love is like a stone.
Isn't this poem by Yunus Emre?
That's right. Do you know Yunus?
I know him, and I can't believe I found you. Please, guide me. Teach me love. Oh, dear Yunus.
Come, let's enter the ruins of Constantinople. Perhaps we can be of some help to the people in the ruins.
But there's war there. There's slaughter, Master Yunus.
At worst, they'll hang us like Mansour. Come follow me.